knows.
And Brent did not realize we're going live.
That's fine.
Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. In the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from Earth 616 to the Mojoverse to the TVA in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
Alliance Assemble, Volume 236. And Brent, we have come to the end of the Witch's Road.
We have indeed,
And
down the Witch's Road.
And you know what? We'll get to it, but we've had respective factor fictions officially proven correct.
Yeah. Well,
So.
I don't even know what factor fictions I've said about this show at this point.
Fake fan.
Especially because I had several that I thought about doing and never ended up doing. So, and I'm like, I'm never going to do this one. Took it out of the list. I don't even know what it was.
Pour one out. Pour one out. I'm confused by your statement, David.
Pour a little out for my Wiccans. David's been off the last couple of days, so I really haven't had a chance to talk to him about it.
Oh, well, geez. Slacker at work.
Oh, no, I would never say that.
I will. Welcome, David, and all you all listening around the world and all that. So, how has been your week, Brent?
I really can't complain overall. And yesterday was Halloween. Did the trick or treating thing with the kids. That went well. I can tell the kids are getting older because my older kids said, "Hey, next year you should let us go on our own." And my younger kid, he did not want to skip any houses. He was never tired enough to. We never got the let's just go home type thing. No, he went to every house in the neighborhood.
Rock on. If you're going to, go big or go home, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I certainly enjoyed a piece or two of candy, so.
Yep, that'll work. But yeah, we did trick-or-treating last night as well. As you know, that's why we did not go live last night. We're doing it tonight because, again, family comes first. But yeah, we hit a good number. But, we did check Halloween next year is a Friday. And so some of my neighborhood friends, we are trying to strategically saying, like, is there a way we can just chill in our driveways? Our kids are not old enough to go on their own, but is there a way that we can work this that when we put them down, we chill in our driveway for, the rest of the night?
The neighborhood that we always go to my sister's neighborhood because they have people who participate, and they have 2 or 3 houses every year with basically somebody puts a movable fire pit in the middle of the driveway, and several houses around it go, and they just have a huge spread of candy, and they're like, just go hog wild, kids. And then there's still tons of houses for traditional trick-or-treating.
Absolutely.
So you should definitely do something like that.
Yeah, it should be. Fifth of Jack is in the chat. I finally did my homework for this episode. We are, as you can hear, we are both doing very well. I am tired. It has been a long week, and looking forward to the weekend and getting some relaxation and some recuperation with that. But yes, Halloween was good. Hopefully everyone listening and at one point or another, or watching, that your Halloween, if you celebrate it, was well. But we have 2 episodes to break down tonight, bringing to an end to Agatha all along. So let's get the show network plugs out of the way. We are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance network with 6 shows covering the wide range of geek and nerdom. To see the full schedule, check out the show notes below and subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUAPod Network so you know when all the shows drop. We also have a Patreon, so if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we've got 2 tiers. Our $1 tier is our tip jar to say, hey, we think we're doing a good job. And then we've got our $5 tier with ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon-exclusive shows, including our show from Marvel Alliance, We Can Watch This All Day, the Marvel Alliance Infinity Saga Rewatch, and then we're about to wrap up our current show, Tales from the House of X, where we've been watching all our favorite movies from the Fox era of X-Men, covering Deadpool, Deadpool 2, The Wolverine, Logan, X-Men, X2, X-Men First Class, and next Monday we record our series finale, X-Men Days of Future Past. So we will record that on Monday. Brent has watched the theatrical cut. I have watched the road cut. So we will talk all about that for you patrons. And speaking of patrons, we want to thank our newest patron, Carrie Vanderberg. Carrie's been on the show recently since he attended SDCC, sharing all the news. So we want to thank Carrie for becoming a member of the patron. And I believe I think Charlie Randall has rejoined the Patreon. So we want to thank him for coming back on to the Geek Ultimate Alliance Patreon. And we want to thank, again, all our patrons. We cannot do this without your support. And you got a lovely back content out there. We've got the DC Alliance guys doing the DC films through the years. We've got Joe doing his Multiverse Minutes. He is getting ready to wrap up his 30-plus days of Halloween. I think he's got either doing one more episode or maybe two. But probably he's getting ready to take a break from that. And then his current show is Disney Dives, looking at the chronological order of Disney animation. He just dropped a new episode today, I believe, looking at Alice in Wonderland. So that's a good little breakdown there.
That's a guy that needs a break. Man, he's been going nonstop.
Yep. Exactly. So, what is nonsense you're putting in the chat? Fake movie road cut. I mean, you can't.
I mean, by definition, it's not a fake movie. But
it actually released. It may not have been in theaters, but it actually rewreleased.
Yep. I for theatrical movies, I'll take the theatrical cut.
That's
the made special.
That's okay. That's okay. I'd actually forgotten. Now, I'll bring this up in the breakdown when we talked about it. Like I had really forgotten when it was gonna be, when it fits in, and when it happens. Oh God, that's when it happened. Okay, because it was going on in the movies. Did I miss it? So all right, well,
hey, Rogue was in the cut that I watched. She had like 3 seconds of screen time.
Yes, she did. And this time she has much more than that. But if you want to be a member of our Patreon, go to www.patreon.com/GUA Network so you can get all that lovely content. And as always, we want to thank our patrons who can't do this without your support. But if you can't join us on Patreon, totally understand. But if you want to take 30 to 90 seconds to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and get all the rankings, 5-star rankings, puts us on the helps the algorithm out. And last but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com, for our omnibus hardcover collect edition needs. JP and the crew at LPB have got it going on with excellent customer service, immaculate packaging shipped around the world. Newest pre-order catalog has just launched. Wolverine Omnibus Volume 5 is on there. Fantastic Four Omnibus Volume 6. Sabretooth War, the newest event from the Wolverine series, getting ready to end the Krakoan era. Lots of great content. Use that code MARVELGUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order. Use it in a limited amount of times. And we want to thank them for being our official sponsor. All right, Brent. Agatha. First, we cannot forget. We would not be a good network if we didn't give a good deep plug to our brethren over at the Geekverse. The 24-hour Extra Life charity stream is going down this Saturday, and November 2nd, and it starts at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I can't remember which one this is. I don't know if it's not the 10th. I think this is the 9th, 8th, or 9th.
Oh man, I don't know. They've done.
I think it's the 9th. Travis has already kind of talked about they've already
I'd still
started
be tired
plans.
from like 4 of them ago.
They already got some plans underway for when the 10th happens. This might be the 8th or 9th, but regardless, 24-hour stream. They've got video game competitions, karaoke, commentaries, chess being played, including the infamous trivia battle, which I'll be partaking in. I am on Team Travis, I think for the first time in a while, if not, because I've always seemed to be on the other team that Travis has been on. So this is supposed to kind of, they're tied, I think. Taylor and Travis is supposed to be for all the marbles. And I our team's pretty stacked. Our team has some pretty stacked people as a part of it, so I'm looking forward to it. But that takes place at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to contribute anything, all the proceeds benefit the BC Children's Hospital. Great organization. No amount is too small, again. But even if you can't contribute, again, we always know times are tough. But even if you just simply retweet it, like it, tune in, any kind of exposure for it. They've got a lot of great stretch goals, including some shaving of the hair going on for some of the members. I believe Taylor has some stretch goals for how his beard or mustache is going to be looking, including a Hulk Hogan kind of look. I think we're all looking forward to that. Mr. Travis is going to be possibly shaving all his hair off and donating that for children's wigs. So a lot of great stuff going on.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I am unable to be there this year, but I am looking forward to at least trying to tune in and catch part of it.
Yep. So definitely check that out. Link if you want to donate, it will be in the show notes below. So check that out. And again, it starts at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So, all right, now let us get underway. Agatha All Along dropped 2 episodes on Wednesday to conclude the series. I mean, we get it. They want to keep this in October. They want to go creeping into the next month. It's the spooky show. So we're going to break down each episode. So first up, episode 8, penultimate episode, Follow Me, My Friend, to Glory at the End.
Are we going to go over a spoiler wall for all of it at once?
Yes, let's just do one big.
Okay.
So, anyways,
Okay.
So even before, let's just talk about it as a whole. Both episodes, non spoilers.
I just wanted to make sure
Yep.
before I said what I was going to say.
Yep. So non spoilers.
Bottom line, they stuck the landing for me. I thought they had 2 great episodes. I do think the streak of the penultimate episode being the better of the final 2 episodes holds up. I did enjoy that one a little more than the finale, but it's not that I didn't enjoy the finale. It's just I enjoyed even more what they did in that penultimate episode in episode 8. But there were reveals. There was some theories that I had seen that got confirmed. It was fun at times. It was touching at times. Agatha, oh my gosh, Catherine Hahn. Some of the acting that she turned in was fantastic, and especially some stuff in that final episode. All in all, I thought they did a really great job with this. I've seen a couple people have some little nitpicks, and they don't necessarily like. I guess for lack of a better phrase, you want to call it the big twist. I guess we could call it that, but I think it worked really well, and I think it was set up pretty well, and it's definitely kind of like WandaVision itself. You go back and you rewatch the show now from start to finish, it's going to be a different experience knowing what you know about the show, and not just because you've seen it, but because you'll be spotting the hints and clues and the Easter eggs and things like that in the earlier episodes that are going to pay off in the later ones. I think they did a great job.
Yeah, I'll gotta save my kind of overall thing at the end because, as you know, starting off this series, I was not high up on it. I didn't necessarily think it was going to be the worst thing Disney had ever done. It was more of like I just was wondering, since this was in the era of we got to put out content, how much of a quality would it be? Would it dip at that point? But each episode, I've been pleasantly surprised. There's been a few think, well, not sure about that, but the twist about it, where they went with both of these episodes, I was very surprised. It was very much, I'll just call it Fight Club-esque in the sense of the twists, in the sense of kind of like, to your point, when I go back and watch this, I'm watching this in a whole different lens. And I'm trying to figure out, did I miss something where I could have picked up on this sooner? Because this was how the revelations happened. I was like, it fits in the sense of what was going on comic book wise, but it was almost like I don't think I was expecting them to do that and go that far with this. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, all in all, they definitely did some setup for the future, and with a couple of things, and still some questions, sure, which I'm okay with questions at the end of a series. I don't need to have everything wrapped up in a nice, neat bow just because of where the characters are supposed to be going. This is not like the end for any of these characters, except for the ones that, well, we got confirmed
hope
that.
Not.
Well, for some of them, they're not be moving on because they're 6 feet under the ground.
Fair, but I mean, let's say the living characters.
Yes,
I feel like they're of the characters who are still alive. I feel like there's not a one of them I would not like to see again.
Yeah. So, all right, I'm ready to jump with a spoiler. How about you?
Oh yeah.
All right. So, but if you have not watched either episode of Agatha All Along, please stop, watch them, come on back. Otherwise, we're jumping over the spoiler wall. So, ladies and gentlemen, take our first ad break. So these ads help keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud. Give it that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right, Brent. So, episode 8, Follow Me, My Friend, to Glory at the End. So the interesting stuff, the episode opens back up to where we left off in episode 5, with Alice on the ground, who we assumed who had died, and a hand wistfully brushes over her face, and she awakens to face Rio. And who did we learn that Rio was in episode 7?
Rio is death, and they have a little chat, a nice little conversation where Rio basically says, "Yeah, sorry, you're done," and Alice, like, very heartbreakingly, just says, "I wasn't ready. I wanted more time. I just got the curse lifted," and she can see her, like, dead and borderline decomposing body that Agatha had left
Begging
behind,
for another chance.
just sitting there, and just right out of the gate, it's like, we got to go back, and yeah, I guess we're gonna go back and revisit this.
Yeah, and she pointed out something to her that she said, "Aren't you a protection witch?" And she's like, "You're right. I did do my job."
Yep. Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. And I want to say that I thought this too, and I know the Geekverse guys pointed this out as well. Have you seen The Sandman on Netflix?
No.
Okay, so there is a particular episode in the sense of dealing with the Sandman's character's sister death, literally death too. And there's a whole episode. It's a very everyone pronounced it, and I put it up there as the best episode of the first season of it. So her demeanor and stuff like that kind of reminded me of that episode. So, but anyways, so meanwhile, Jen is panicked as she bangs on the door, try to get Lilia, who has sacrificed herself. And Billy is very concerned. Agatha's a bit preoccupied as she runs into Rio. And Rio says, "Your coven is shrinking. The bodies are really piling up, just like you promised." And Rio accuses Agatha of distracting her from Billy, who she calls an abomination who's disrupting the sacred balance. So why is Rio so ticked off about Billy and his existence?
Well, I was thinking about that, and initially I thought it was just because Billy was supposed to have died at the end of WandaVision, and then it occurred to me, well, no, I don't think that's quite right. I think it's really more because Billy kept William's body alive. I think that's really the problem. And so, like, she doesn't really talk about wanting souls. I mean, she kind of does, Rio, that is. She always references wanting bodies, and it's like, oh, you didn't get this body because somebody else moved in and before you had the chance. And I think that's why. Now, I will say she was upset about this. She wanted Billy to willingly turn himself into her, because if she just took him, basically, she made it sound like his soul could just jump to another body, would just find another host, if you will. They kind of let that one go, right? Like, they never really came back to that, because there is a point later in the show where Rio says to both Billy and Agatha, "One of you's coming with me. I don't care who."
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't, like, they kind of let that one go, but it's worthy. It's good enough to get us one more bargain between Agatha and Rio.
Yeah, she says that she's walking the road with another woman's son. And Rio quips that nobody has had special treatment like Agatha has, implying that Rio has made sure that she has narrowly avoided death thus far, but Agatha disagrees, saying Rio has only ever taken from her. And she says that, and that's usually your move, right? Rio quips before asking Agatha why she lets the coven believe those things about her, about why she did to her what she did to her son. And Agatha says, because the truth is too awful. So back outside the trial door, Jen is assuring Billy that Lilia wanted to stay behind in order to save them, and then gets to discussing Rio, and Jen says that the Green Witch has shown us who she really was from the beginning. So Agatha's ex is death, Billy asks, and Jen shrugs. That also makes sense.
And she also referenced that she told us. Because if you remember when they're like, "Oh, so you're a Green Witch," and she said, "I'm the Green Witch." And,
I love that line.
And
absolutely.
So when they did that, it's like she said from the beginning that who she was. Like, they should have known at that point.
Yeah. So they set out in search of Agatha, who's with Rio, now discussing Billy's mission to find Tommy at the end of the road, which Rio calls a violation and Agatha thinks is a waste of time. His brother isn't out there. Not yet, anyway, Rio says, explaining that Billy stole a second life, but his twin has not, and she aims to stop Billy before he helps Tommy do so. Again, like you said, she is death. This is smacking in the face of stopping her doing her natural order of work, and his continued existence is an affront to her.
Exactly right. And while at the same time, Death can use this in an attempt to manipulate Agatha.
Yeah. And Agatha says take him, but then she realizes Rio can't take him because if he dies, he will simply reincarnate, like you said. That's the whole point. And so Rio reluctantly agrees. She says that she wants Death to stop pursuing her for at least the time being if she's able to convince Billy to turn himself in willingly.
And it was when she does finally die a long time from now, she doesn't want to see Rio's face.
Correct.
Which, when you actually see Rio's face, like when you get that skeleton look, it's like it kind of takes on a double meaning. One, I don't want to see your ugly face, and two, especially with what we know happened with Rio and Agatha in the past that we learn about in the second episode, she doesn't want to see her anymore.
Yeah. And Rio reluctantly agrees before basically walking out into a distant spot in the forest where she slices literally through the wall and goes into. And remember, she is a cosmic being.
My wife and I were trying to figure out which wall that was, as in, like, Deadpool breaks the fourth wall. So what is it when you go out the back wall? Like, I've lost count how many walls we're up there now.
Who knows? So when Agatha finds Billy and Jen, she overhears the teenager say she will never be anything more than a covenless witch. Ouch. That's it's pretty rough, but Agatha has bigger fish to fry, so they begin moving to the last trial. The trial will involve earth magic, and they no longer have the green witch, so Jen will need to step up again and use her potions of knowledge to help them get through it. So as they're walking, Agatha trips over the shoes that they left at the beginning of the road, and they realize they've been in a circle. They're in a circle, and beginning the finish line. So how do they get out? Agatha's desperate. She's furious. She's saying, oh, we're just going to do it again. And Jen's like, we're not doing this again. I'm not going through this. It makes absolutely no sense. And Agatha's like, fine, stay, deal with it at this point. And Billy's even more indignant, saying, you know what? We took these off to have respect for the road. Screw the road. And as soon as he puts it on, everything goes black.
Yeah, I kind of wondered what was up with the shoes, and I've thought back to the shoes a couple times when I've noticed their bare feet, and I guess I sort of get it now. I definitely get it now at the end of everything, but at this point in the show, I'm like, so it's a respect thing, I guess. I don't know, but goes to black, and they wake up in what kind of looks like a morgue, really.
I know, yeah. So what happens kind of in this morgue?
Well, all three of them, they're in drawers and body bags in those drawers, and they slide out, and they're able to get themselves out of the body bags. They do find some personal effects. Billy gets up first, then Agatha. Jen is really struggling. Billy goes to help her, and Agatha says, "No, don't take her struggle from her," or something like that. And then it's at this point where Billy basically says, well, screw all this, because he realizes the personal effect that the only thing he had was his spell book. Well, it was damaged, destroyed, every page was ruined. He throws it back down, all the drawers slam inside. So now they're just left in this completely empty, room. There's some lights, which they realize is the ticking clock. As each light bulb goes out, the whole room is covered, and they have no hints, no clues, no anything as to what they are supposed to do.
And Agatha wonders, how are they going to grow anything without water or soil?
Yeah, I guess they did. They had the hint of, well, there's only one more trial. It's the Green Witch trial, and they don't even have a Green Witch with them.
So in the conversation they have, it's revealed that Agatha is the one who actually bounds Jen using her magic. And so naturally, Jen's pretty ticked off. And even though Agatha insists she didn't know it was Jen who she performed the spell on, she was merely performing spells for money in the 1920s, and Jen was someone else's target. So Jen rips out a piece of Agatha's hair, binds it around her hands together, and begins saying, you hold nothing, and repeats it over and over and over again. So two things with this. So with the unbounding spell, I was doing a little research what this meant by it. Simply binding the person who did it with their hair, and just keeps on saying, you have no power over me, I have no power over me, and keep repeating it until basically you feel, as you saw she felt, her powers come back. But in helping Billy and Agatha protect them throughout this time, her selfless journey is complete. And she is now a completely changed witch.
Yes, and she disappears from the room, and they're like, well, she got her goal. The road gives you your desire, your heart's desire. At the end of it, hers was to get unbound, and because of that, We do catch up with her very briefly at the end of towards the end of the second episode.
Yep.
We see her fly off. She's got like the glowing hands and stuff. She looks a lot like Wanda as she flies.
Kind of a pinkish kind of color.
Yeah, yeah, and so she is powered up and out there somewhere.
Yep.
So we don't know where, we don't know when. Hopefully, we will get to see her again at some point. But series wrap for Jen.
Yeah, Phil in the chat. How you doing, Phil? And so yeah, but then speaking of powered up, Agatha tells Billy, saying, well, you're powered up, so now power me up. And Bill's like, heck no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. So Agatha offers to help him find his brother. She tells him Tommy isn't waiting out there, not in a body at least. She tells Billy that Rio is trying to prevent him from finding his brother because it would require him to steal a body, just like Billy did. And Agatha tells Billy to sit down and close his eyes, which he obeys. And they go through this kind of like meditation at that point, and she then has him recall the moments where when they were 10 years old, living in Westview, remembering him being with his parents. You kind of hear Paul Bettany's vision speaking at that point. I don't remember hearing Wanda at all. I do remember hearing Vision. I do not remember hearing
I think this
Wanda.
one just played Vision.
Yeah. So, but then they start like and they start sensing Tommy. And it almost looks like she's trying to guide him to get that, I guess, Tommy-esque into, it looks to be a boy is getting ready to drown from a prank at that point. And there's these little subtle glimpses of who this boy is, dressed in green. The shoes are also an interesting telling and very reminiscent of what what Tommy looked like in in the costume in the Halloween episode of WandaVision. So and she says that too many people die every day for Tommy not to have a body.
Right. I think she said something like 120 people die all the time, like constantly or every day or whatever. I'm like, it's probably a lot more than that. But I love the moment when Billy seems to be getting more distraught as they goes forward, and he gets Tommy's essence, seems to be push him into this boy's body, and Billy yells out, Agatha, am I killing this kid? Or Agatha, am I killing this boy? And then like a snap, Billy's gone from the room and Agatha's left by herself.
And I'll say this, like, this is the first thing I've ever seen Joe lock in. And I have been, this would be a scene that could borderline on overacting. Joe Locke does a great job. I truly believe that he is he is really torn in the sense of, I want my brother back, but I'm now in a moral quandary of, is this right to do?
Right.
So, you notice I said Joe Locke, unlike apparently the last episode where we were saying we
said the wrong name, yeah.
We said the complete wrong name over and over again. So she's sitting there alone in the room. The lights flicker out one by one, and there's only 3 shining lights left. So she takes her son's hair out, rubbing it across her face before she realizes that this could be the key to her escape. Out of death, life, she says breathlessly, before letting her tears spill onto the hair and burying it in a small patch of soil that just happens to be in the room. And just as the last light is flickering out, a flower grows out of the soil. The lights all turn on again, and the room begins to collapse. Rocks and soil fall. Agatha then runs out the door, screaming for someone to let her out. The door opens, she climbs out, and where is she?
Her own backyard, basically. Or Randall's backyard would probably be more appropriate to say.
Ralph's?
Well, his real name is Randall.
That's true, Randall, yeah. And so she is back in Westview, and someone's up at the top of the roof cackling at her.
Yeah, Rio is. She's up there, and I gotta give my standard criticism. The background sky looked a little funky as she was sitting. I will never not see it when these things happen, but it was there. It looked a little funky, but yes, Rio. Man, Aubrey Plaza, she's got that laugh, man, that witch's cackle. Ooh.
The best one, and then you get those glimpses of her in the half skull face. Like even seeing the
she's
practical,
creepy, right?
Like even seeing it practically, as a lot of the behind the scenes images came out today, with it, even seeing it not like fully lit. Makeup and artists did such a darn good job with her in her half kind of skull at that point. Bravo to them with her character.
Completely agree.
And so Agatha tries to use her powers. They're not there to be found. And she says, I got you the kid. You got to honor your agreement. And she's like, no, that wasn't the deal. He was supposed to surrender himself, not just like blip out of existence, because that's what she's trying to think happened.
Right, and Agatha screams that she wants her prize.
Yeah, I want my prize. That was like, that's laughable, that line. I get what she's saying, but really, do we have to say that?
Knowing, like, it's weird because, like, knowing that, I mean, there's no reason to hide it at this point. We know the road was effectively fake the whole time, right? Billy brought about the road. We'll get to that.
We'll get there, yeah.
But knowing that, she's still, like, she at this point bought into the road, presumably because she saw Jen get her prize. She thinks Billy got his prize. She doesn't have it confirmed yet at this point. Of course, she knows the others are dead, but so she thinks, well, it may have been fake, but it's real now.
Yeah, and so Rio's trying to basically take her out. She's gonna kill her at that point, but who arrives in another very comic accurate look?
Wiccan. They don't give him the name, but Billy shows up in his Wiccan costume and
full on, not like Halloween costume. This is full on MCU. This is
MCU costume, right? Mm-hmm. And he looked awesome.
Yeah, powered up, blue magic everywhere, and you know, but even before then, after then, remember the warning that Agatha got when she was called a coward. Said, when she calls you a coward, what did Lilia tell her to do?
Duck when she calls you a coward, or hit the deck. I think it was.
Yep, hit the deck, and she did that. And she was able to avoid getting basically at that point probably killed. But yeah, Billy goes kind of toe to toe at that point. Real still wants one of them, which spells a dual, brewing. So Agatha blasts Billy away. After Billy powers it up, and she warns that, before that, she blasts him away. Billy relents and said, "Don't take it all. Don't kill me," basically. And she gets powered up, and so you get a nice back and forth with Agatha and Rio. And Agatha and Billy have a heart-to-heart where Agatha says that they won't be able to evade death. She offered herself up so Billy can live, and as Rio returns, Billy tells her that he will go with her willingly. And Agatha goes, "Take him. You heard him. The boy as promised." And of course, Agatha falling into, we can't trust her at that point.
Right. And
she even says, "What can I say? I'm a covenantless witch." And Billy pleads with Agatha inside his head, "Agatha, I know you can hear me. Is this how Nikki died?"
Right. So, one, they actually had me questioning how much of Billy's power was she going to take. I never thought she was going to kill him.
Yeah.
I did think she was going to render him powerless, at least temporarily. Not like in a he's weak state, but like he is physically fine, but he can't conjure anything. Okay, She didn't do that, but they made me question it. It's like they're reminding you she's not a good person. And
no, and I will, even when we get to the final episode, not revealing, she is still not a good person. Like she is not redeemed whatsoever in the show. And thank you, finally. We have a villain that continues to be like the villain that she is.
I might argue she's worse than what she was. Knowing what we know about her now, she's worse than what we knew at the end of WandaVision. And when he says, "Is this what happened to Nikki?" the implication is that she gave up her son to death to keep herself alive, to spare herself. And that is the implication. It's at this point that she turns around and she gives Rio a kiss and basically dies right there on the spot.
The kiss of death, as it were?
The kiss of death. It seemingly drains her the way that she drains others. But even at this point, we don't know. So it's like, is this what happened? Like, I thought we would find out that she gave up her son for the Darkhold. I thought that's how she was going to come about it.
You notice but remember what Rio said at one point. I don't know if it was this episode or another one. She said, and she does, and she is another referencing with Wanda, when referring to Wanda, she said, "That which is gone along with all versions of the Darkhold."
Right.
So she says gone. She doesn't say dead, gone.
Yes, which apparently was a very important word to be. Jack Schaefer said that they were directed to use that word.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But I just thought, because Agatha had the Darkhold in WandaVision.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we were going to find out that that's how she had the dark hold.
Yeah, maybe.
But it's not. Nope.
Yeah. So, but Agatha, like as she goes to the ground, she basically becomes kind of all the mushrooms and the purple flowers, everything like that. But here's the other thing: as all the we kind of forgot to say, like all our favorite Westview people are looking up. So, oh God, here we go again.
Is this happening again?
But as Agatha dies, the sun comes out. The orange glow of the sun over Agatha's, I'm going to call it her grave, much like the color of a certain infinity stone, the soul stone, completing the final trial and the journey of mirroring the discovery of each one of the infinity stones in each one of these trials.
Yep, you were right.
So Rio tells Billy he's free to go, leaves without hesitation after grabbing Agatha's locket, and he walks through Rescue, and others are just staring at him, and he puts a cloak over his head. And what color is that cloak?
Well, it's you might say it's a scarlet color, and he looks an awful lot like his mom during that.
Yep, and his Wanda did the same thing at the end of WandaVision to prevent people from basically protecting himself. So he gets in the car, drives away, reeling from everything that happened. Then he goes in his room in Eastview. Well, his parents are there, distraught. They haven't been finding him in a day. He goes upstairs.
Yeah, all this took place in a day, 24
a day,
hours.
Yes. He finds all these little reminders of the road, including Lorna Wu poster, figurine of the Wicked Witch of the West, a Ouija board, and more were all part of the Witch's Road. And then he gets the shoes. He gets very worried and starts to think, oh, God. Remember what I said with Billy in the sense of in the comics, he also has a very powerful reality base that could reshape reality. Well, they just did that. And he has a sudden realization that, as Brent said earlier, he created the Witch's Road. The Witch's Road never existed at this point. And as he reflects on that, he realizes it was me. And then he hears a cackle, turns around and goes, ah!
So think back to, and they give us a flashback either in this sequence or in the final episode. But when Sharon dies, and Agatha is leaning over him and says, "I didn't know you had it in you," and winks at Billy. Mm-hmm. Agatha at this point, she knows, like she knew the road was not real. Yep. So that's why she wasn't just surprised that they got the door open with this coven that seemed to all be weak and powerless witches. She was surprised the door opened at all because there was not supposed to be any door.
Yeah. And it's one of those where, I mean, that's why I said this was a very much at that moment, it very much, you call it a Fight Club-esque kind of realization. You call it a Sixth Sense kind of realization at that point with how they do it. I mean, whatever it is. I mean, they both work in this kind of show.
He does see dead people. So.
Yeah, he does. So, but that's how the episode ends. And so we're going to take our next ad break as we head into the final episode of Agatha All Along. So listeners, if you... as you know, these ads help keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We greatly apologize for probably all, if you're living in the United States, all the political ads. So we only have to endure that for one more week. Maybe, hopefully. So, but yeah, so turn that volume down before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right, episode 9, final episode. Maiden Mother Crone. Now, episode 8 was titled "Follow Me, My Friend, to the Glory End," suggesting that the road itself was all in Billy's mind. And this episode's title expands on that notion while also filling in. We get I did not predict this episode was going, but if the trailers were to be believed with what we saw, we're like, yeah, we didn't see, there were missing things that we hadn't seen yet, so it should have fit, but this was a very interesting way to end the season with what it goes into.
It was, and we start off with what we find out as a flashback, but initially I was like, wait, did I miss a date reveal? Like, did they say the day? Because it's just Agatha running through the woods in witch's
1750.
garb. Like, right, and I actually rewound it. So I was like, I must have looked away and missed the date, and I'm like, nope, they never showed one. Then it showed 1750 afterwards. I'm like, I was impatient.
Patience. So, lush green expanse, a woman vocalizes the background, a hooded woman scurries around the ground in a purple road. It's 1750, and it's Agatha. She's pregnant, and from the looks of it, in labor. And she cuts open a lemon against the tree, bites down to start the process, She looks up, and there's Rio, cloaked in green, waits for her at the edge of the lake of flower. She says, "It cannot be," Agatha says. "It must be," Rio says. "You do this, and I'll hate you forever," Agatha says, begging Rio to let him live. And this harkens back when Death mentioned that she betrayed a woman she loved, making her scar. It says, "I can only offer time." And Agatha asks how much, and then Rio disappears. "I spoke no spell. I said no incantation," she says, and she names him Nicholas Scratch, made from scratch.
Made him from scratch. All right, this is one of those scenes where I'm looking on the various social medias and I just want to like reach through the phone and yell at like strangle people because I'm like, did you even watch the show? Because I saw several people saying, "Oh my gosh, Rio spared Agatha." I'm like, no, she didn't. She was never coming to take Agatha.
Yeah,
she was always coming to take the baby.
Yes.
Because, I'll hate you forever if you kill me. Well, she was going to be dead. Like, that makes no sense. But what would make her hate Rio forever? Killing her son, taking her baby. Nicholas Scratch was supposed to die in childbirth. The fact that he did, that's what, like, I don't know. It drove me nuts seeing several people. And I'm like, you guys just didn't watch the show at all. And they were trying to like speak positively. They enjoyed it. But I'm like, it's like, you got to the right answer. You enjoyed it. Great. I'm glad you did. But you did it. If you show your work, it's wrong.
Yeah, and so, and then Rio disappears. Now, we never get an answer on who's the father. What happened? We never get that answer, and I'm okay with that. I don't need to know that answer right now because it doesn't really matter for.
I did see a theory that Rio was actually the father.
I saw that, but that's low hanging fruit, and it just it
seems. I don't know. I don't think the show has enough there to tell us that. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. It's not there, nor is it necessary. So Fogg shrouds Agatha as she cuddles her son. As the episode jumps forward a bit, she's walking with him through the woods, and as he cries when she stumbles upon a group of women singing around a cauldron. And an older woman says, "Sister, come forth. Is this little one well?" The woman lets Agatha into the circle of stones as the blue veins in them glow yellow, but she gives a suspicion to Agatha beforehand. "We haven't eaten in days," Agatha says. And what those stones were protection stones. And the reason they were lighting up were they were supposed to be warning those witches, saying, I wouldn't let her in. And they did anyways. And what does she do to those witches?
Well, she presumably drained their power.
Yes.
And I say presumably because they don't actually show us, but
you see that light in the background.
Right. And so I got to ask this question. How does she drain their power unless they attacked her first?
Fair, but maybe they realized that she was not she was not a friendly.
The answer is something happened off screen. It's just something I noticed at the time of watching it.
Yep. So then it flashes forward to 6 years later. An older Nicholas sits in the foot of a well. He steals a bell that looks suspiciously like one that Agatha chimes before she and her makeshift coven start to sing, from Witch's Hand, luring them to Agatha's cabin while she siphons all their powers. Nicholas knows exactly what's going on. She says, "Mama, why do you kill witches?" She tells to survive. And he asks, "Could we not stay with the witches and survive with them?" Agatha says no, saying he should get used to the feeling of being solo. And that's when he starts creating this song. "Walk, walk, walk the road. I walk the windy road," he sings and starts developing the early version of the Witch's Road ballad.
Mm-hmm. And when he first starts like humming it, I'm like, oh, she's taught him the song, right? Like, because I'm like, she's made him aware of it. Or nope, he helped. And we would see throughout the next several minutes that they wrote the song together.
Yeah. It says, "I cannot heal you. I cannot protect you from what's coming," she tells Nicholas when he asks her to make him food one day, knowing that death will return for her boy. And so Agatha and her son slowly put together the lyrics of the song, the Ballad of the Witch's Road. And you see Nicholas kind of performing this in front of a bar as Agatha skulks through the distracted audience. She pays him and encourages others to reward him too. One redhead asks her where she came across this curious song, and Nicholas looks ill as he's offered a warm meal and says, "Thank you, but no, my mother needs me at home." And he kind of runs off and says, "We can kill more witches tomorrow," he says, coughing, and kind of runs off. And then Agatha kind of says, "Where is she?" And he's in the woods, and she kind of cuddles up next to him, says, "Well, we'll do it more tomorrow." And she's sensing the worst is happening. He wakes up, sees Rio holding a green torch, and he scuttles off. That's his soul scuttling off. Agatha wakes up, and Nicholas has died.
Nicholas has died, and so all this time they're killing all these witches, and it's like throwing bodies as sacrifices to Rio. And
Hopefully saying this
the day they don't do it is the day that he died. Oh, man. So rough.
And I didn't make that connection until the second watch. I was like, that's why she took him. It was just saying, we're going to catch you when you're not feeding me, basically.
Yep, pretty much. As long as I genuinely think that if Nicholas had been more willing to go along with it, taking out all these witches, that he could have lived hundreds of years the way Agatha did.
Yeah. So then we start this montage of Agatha shows up in different we get this woman coming up and saying that, hey, you're kind of, singing this song, but Agatha's sobbing at the grave, saying, "I wanted more time. I buried my own heart here with you, my child." And a blonde woman, she looked like a very young Sharon Davis. I don't know if I was just making things up, but she was almost a very dead ringer. I didn't know what they were trying to hint with that or just coincidence, but man, she looked close like that.
My guess is coincidence, but yeah. I wouldn't argue with you there. Like she definitely did. Like there were some Mrs. Hart vibes, and I just like to call her Mrs. Hart because I think it's funny whenever the Sharon Davis joke would get made. But she they did, like it would have been good casting if they were in a project together as like mother-daughter.
Yeah, exactly. So she says, you must know the way then, guessing she knows the way to the Witch's Road, according to the ballad. I'm in a great need. And after she tells Agatha the road offering a prize to the pair of witches, she said, "Might you show the way?" And Agatha says, "I know it by heart. First we must gather a coven. Where's the door?" And that's when it starts this whole montage of her taking all these witches' powers as she gathers coven after coven. And that's when you start realizing there was no Witch's Road. There was nothing. This was all a ruse for her to keep getting powers and keep surviving.
Every single time they were singing the song throughout. Like we were getting another version of the song. Mm-hmm. And every single time Agatha would do what we saw her do in episode 2 with the coven we followed throughout the show, where she would immediately start taunting them and telling them how weak and worthless of witches they were to make them angry. The difference is these witches didn't know anything about Agatha yet.
Yep.
And Lilia did in that second episode know she wants us to attack her. These witches, nobody knew that. By attacking her, they were giving her the means of which to destroy them. And so she becomes an even greater mass murderer than she already was. It's like she kind of is still serving Rio in a sense, but she's able to keep herself young and healthy and effectively living almost forever. She could have kept doing it until she ran into Wanda.
Yeah, and then when it flashes to where, in episode 2, she's got her new coven with all her newest coven at that point, and she's chastising them out, saying, "You guys are pathetic. You do this." But then the door
Lilia
reveals
had that line about no witch in her right mind would join a coven with Agatha. Like I just thought of this, but that means more now.
Yep, that means more. But then when the door reveals itself, she is shocked at that point as Billy comes down the stairs, and now this all starts fitting together at that point. So. Flash forward to Billy from episode 8 saying it was me, the evil laughter. He turns around, and who is there but Agatha as a ghost with gray hair, very much channeling the comic version of Agatha, who was a ghost at one point in the comics. And she's like, "By the way, I did not sacrifice myself for you. I took a calculated risk," she tells him. "I'm still figuring out the rules." And Billy asks her, "Did I make the road?" And she's like, "Unlike your mother, sorry. Wanda, you did something interesting with your power. It was just a con. The song doesn't mean anything. It never did. The road wasn't real until you made it real." And he says, "If I made the road, then that means that I killed them. Are there ghosts too? I'm a murderer." And Agatha says she killed Alice and Lilia chose to die. And
But he
she's
did
like,
kill Sharon.
he did kill Sharon, yes. My mind killed them, he tells Agatha, and she's like, don't give yourself too much credit. If you actually do the math, you saved a life. And that's when we cut to Jen crawling out of the dirt and flying away with her recovered pink powers.
Yep, that's when we found out Jen was still alive.
Yep. So I was going to kill them all in my basement that one day, Agatha said. So if you want to be a witch, get used to that feeling. And I said, I'll never get used to this. We'll see. So Billy then heads out, goes to Agatha / Randall's house, all boarded up with the purple mushroom still there. So they didn't forget about that. Mm-hmm. Goes to the basement where he finds his spell book and puts the pentagram on the floor, and then starts creating a spell, getting ready to weave a spell. What spell is he about to do against Agatha?
He's trying to banish her, basically. Trying to banish her. He's like, I don't kill you, why won't you die for real? Like, he wants to banish her away, and it doesn't work.
Yeah. It says, time to go into the light or Real's toxic embrace or wherever you deserve to spend eternity. I really don't care anymore. And he's like, you think you can just send me into the afterlife with an incantation and a personal item? Agatha asked Billy, and it worked. It worked on Wanda. She's like, that wasn't you. They said, okay, maybe you loosened the jar. 5 seconds ago, you were all bent on a shape about killing witches, she said. And he fires back saying, you're actually dead.
Yes. Great retort there.
Yeah. So with that, there's this kind of back and forth with them at that point. And a translucent form flickers and he repeats the words, why are you still here? Why don't you die? And she's like, because I can't face him, meaning Nicholas. As Billy deciphers it, she knocked her brooch to the floor and she can pick it up, touching it to where her chest adheres. Because remember before, she tried to hit Billy and he just kept on going through it. So something about it at that moment allowed her to be tangible with that.
Yep, she's going to learn the rules, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then Billy says, I'm sure he'd forgive you for whatever you did. See, it's when you say things like that, Agatha says to him, that you remind me of him. And he points out to her, you picked it up. Says, I'm a quick study. So Billy says, maybe a ghost could suit her, spirit as my guide, to which Agatha says, we could make a good team, you and me. Coven of two? Mm-hmm. And as a tear rolls down Billy's face, and they realize that they both tend to kill their coven members as well.
I just realized when she says Coven of Two, a few episodes ago, she was arguing if it was Coven of Two or Coven True or whatever.
Yep.
And it's like, she wrote the song. She knows what it is.
Yep.
There's so much stuff like that. I need to find time for a rewatch because I know I'm going to pick up on things like that.
Oh, yeah. So Billy looks up the floor and pulls up the hex he created, labeling the stones on the tiles with the names Sharon Davis, Alice Wu Gulliver, and Lilia Calderu in this floor, confirming that they are truly dead.
Genuinely was surprised that Agatha did not say who's Sharon Davis. Genuinely surprised by that.
Yes, but even during this episode, so at the end, one door closes, Agatha says, and another door opens. Billy finishes the sentence, and a stairway up to a white light opens. Then Agatha says, let's go find Tommy. And the episode ends. No post credits, no nothing, No hints towards the future. You got it right. Was it you who said there'd be one more time that
we'd hear the ballad?
That we hear the ballad again?
I did say that, yes.
Okay, so you got that right, and I got mine right where I said we would never see Mephisto in this show.
Right.
We got confirmation he exists, though.
He exists. He's there.
He does exist. So yeah, the episode comes to a close. I will say I'm very happy that this show kept on, not only just every single week. Like I said, I was a little more interested, a little instant here, but in the end, this was a good show. it was not the best show. It was nowhere near the worst show, but they
No.
did something very unique, and I'm very surprised at how well it was executed in ways. And they did things I said, man, right when we said they better not be doing these trials like every single one and doing it, they didn't. That was the moment that they made the turn, and then they had other questions. So, did I think that they could have changed one of the trials and done something maybe a little bit different, not to sound so similar with the first three trials?
Sure.
But by the time that people are like, oh, I'm a little worried, are we doing this? They made the switch, and it never let go.
Right. And the two trials after that switch were very different.
Yeah. So, where this ranks in my rankings at this point, I have it, I believe, if I'm counting right, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. It is number 31,
Okay.
right behind Doctor Strange, your first Doctor Strange, and right ahead of Black Widow.
There you go.
So, but yeah, that's where I have it ranked. What about you?
I was really satisfied with this show, like I said at the top. I really enjoyed it. Agatha is one of those characters when they announced it, I'm like, all right, I really liked her in WandaVision, but pre-WandaVision, I never would have said, like, oh yeah, that's the character I need a show from, right? Like, that's who I want. And now, having seen this show and having seen WandaVision, I'm like, when is Agatha going to pop up again? She's a ghost now. Is she going to become a guide for Wanda? She's already a guide for Billy, not unlike what she did.
She was a guide in the comics for Wanda.
She was a guide for Wanda when Wanda went on the Witch's Road.
Yeah.
Because in the comics, the Witch's Road is an actual thing. But, it's the first time Marvel has made a project out of a character who's never had a solo comic book. And they left me saying, I want more. Not necessarily an Agatha season 2, but I want more. And I've long for years hated the criticism of every Marvel project is the same. Well, this Marvel project was very different, and they were going into areas, supernatural stuff. Yeah, sure, they've touched on it here and there with Moon Knight or with Werewolf by Night, but it was still like different than the vast bulk of what else was there. I did really appreciate it. I have it ranked at number 25. So like almost, I don't know exactly how many projects there are in the MCU right now because my rankings is only the live action stuff. So of which there's 47 that are out. So plus, a handful of the animated stuff, What If, X-Men, Groot, whatever. It's basically it right there in dead center for me. Yeah. And so, WandaVision I have up at 15, so there's a little bit of a difference there. I still think WandaVision is the overall better show. But man, as a duo, as a 1-2 punch, they go so well together.
Yep. So again, I guess the quote unquote conclusion of this trilogy will come with Vision Quest at that point. So we will see exactly what's going on with that. But yeah, I'm happy that this show exceeded my expectations because my expectations were low, and I'm happy that it did that. I was never one of these people that I'm just going to hate on this show. The show shouldn't exist at that point. It was just more of like, I need someone to help me see why this show is important. And now I do. I do see that. You're muted.
I'm pleased it turned around for you.
Yeah. So it's a good feeling. So yeah. So next week we're back to Fact or Fictions. Next week we're back to Comic Book Club. Next week we're back to that until, well, probably some of your listeners are saying, there was something big that came out. Why aren't you talking about it?
What are you talking about? No, I didn't see anything.
I know something happened. You might want to stay for post credits. We'll talk about that little thing that suddenly dropped on us that we weren't seeing coming a day or two ago. So, all right, Brent, tell people how they can follow you. We're closing out volume 236.
Brentech Prime, on the socials. I will probably be there even more than I usually am at this point because it's a big week we got coming up here in especially in a few days. But yeah, I'm on the various socials. So Brentech Prime, reach out. Go ahead.
Yep, I'm at Chris Balaga on all the socials at that point, and you can follow this show on Twitter /X at Marvel 8 Podcast. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. Again, we want to thank our sponsor, organicpricebooks.com. Use that code MARVELGUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order. And you can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter/X at GUA Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions, fact or fictions, anything like that. DMs are open across the board. Continue to rate and review the Marvel Alliance solo feed, GUA Network feed on all the podcast platforms of choice. And again, don't forget to tune into Extra Life if you are listening to this on Saturday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It starts in the Geek First Podcast YouTube channel. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining us in the chat. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. We will see you back at our normal time Thursday night at 9:10 Eastern Standard Time. All right, Brent, post-credits discussion. What was that one thing I was hinting at that people are screaming, why aren't you talking about this? Why aren't you talking about this?
We got Daredevil footage. And oh, yeah, footage of a whole bunch of other stuff, too.
Yes, Marvel dropped all of a sudden. We started seeing like these leakers saying they were having these dates all of a sudden for projects. And we're like, where are they getting this information? And then all of a sudden, Marvel drops a look ahead to the conclusion of the rest of this year of what's still coming, and basically here's everything that's coming next year for Disney Plus. So it was a trailer. We're gonna stop at various points, but yeah, a lot of this trailer is Daredevil Born Again official footage. So as we go through this, we get Deadpool walking in. So we knew this was probably going to drop when Deadpool and Wolverine was going to be dropping on Disney Plus.
Thankfully, because that's how I'm going to be watching it again.
Yep. So you look at C here. TVA screens are showing all the different things that are getting ready to happen and come to Disney Plus. You have Ironheart, you have Daredevil, you have Wonder Man, you have your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, you have Eyes of Wakanda, you have Wolverine, you have White Tiger, all this stuff. So coming soon to Disney Plus. So we start off with a montage of all this footage. Daredevil Born Again, we start off with Charlie Cox. We get Vincent D'Onofrio looking very much getting ready for his mayoral run. He's thinned out too. Even more, he does look like he's thinned out. Even more thinned out than when he was in Echo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we get Matt Murdock. Here we go. Here's the man.
Punisher himself.
Yes, Punisher himself. Good friend of Brent, right?
Yeah, we met one time.
Friend of the show. Friend of the show.
friend of the show. Sure.
So here's an interesting thing. So when we get to, obviously it's a downward shot. It's Kingpin at that point. More than likely, I'm thinking Matt's near him at this point.
I think you might be right about that. Hey, go ahead and hit play if you want, but on the Punisher, I'm glad they're not hiding him in the market.
Oh yeah,
I'm glad they're just he's there, he's a part of it.
Yeah, they shouldn't at that point. So we get this scene that we've seen many times hinted at of them meeting at this diner, Kingpin and Matt Murdock. Oh, here we go. Vanessa's back, and look at him.
It's the Vanessa, because originally she wasn't going to be back for the show, and then it was retooled, and the schedules changed after the strikes. And you gotta love Kingpin dressed in all white
every time. Matt walking through, looking to open up. Got the billy clubs, throwing people in the thing. He says, he wonders about him. I wonder if your darker half would approve of what he's doing, working together with him. Now, here's the thing: the idea of them working together. We're going to get a good look at who our main villain for the show is being Muse. I think that's why they're working together, is that Muse is a threat for Daredevil. Muse is also a threat against Kingpin.
That holds a lot of water because, especially if he ends up becoming the mayor, it's not going to be good to have a mass murderer running around like Muse.
So we get a lot of shots of Daredevil fighting. Okay, right here.
Bullseye.
That's Bullseye. And we're going to get official name because he was never named.
That's right. He was never officially named Bullseye.
Never named. And I will hold that to everyone. And when I was running trivia that one time, sorry, it wasn't Bullseye. It was Poindexter.
Yep.
So yeah, he's fighting Bullseye there.
Same actor though.
Yep, same actor. We're going to get a good look at him.
I don't know of anybody who's been recast. There's Kamala's dad. I don't know of anybody who's been recast though.
No, not that I know of. And so we get our first look at Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I absolutely love this animation style that they're doing with this. Cell shaded.
I need a little more. I need to see a little more before I can give a ruling on the animation style. But I dig the Spider-Man costume he's got here because for the first time, like it really looks homemade, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
like it's gonna be a while before he has a suit that doesn't look that janky.
and Friendly Neighborhood. He's dead.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah.
That guy's dead. He just killed a guy.
Took a brick
Spider-Man's
to
a
the head.
murderer. Forget murdering Mephisto. Forget murdering not Mephisto. Forget murdering Mysterio. He just killed that guy.
This shot here with the
Hitting him with a
different-
brick.
the different comic book panel type stuff. It's fine if it's used sparingly. If they go Ang Lee Hulk, I'm not gonna like it.
Okay.
But
well,
sparingly, I think it's okay, and I think it's just different in animation versus live action.
true. But I don't believe they're going to use it as sparingly as you would want it to be. But here's the thing: to your point, reserve judgment on the animation style.
Absolutely.
I think we have to see kind of how it's used because animation they do a lot of funny things with it, and I think this is also a tip of the hat to it is very Steve Ditko art style.
Yeah.
So that's what they're channeling with that. So we get our first look at Ironheart, Riri Williams building her armor. And what do you think about this armor here?
I like it. I think it looks awesome.
Yeah, we'll get a final shot at this. We get our first look at our villain, the Hood. Action shots there.
Yeah. I mean, it looks great. Like the effects and stuff look fantastic on this show.
She's dancing around in fire. That's interesting.
It's more of a Johnny Storm move, but okay.
Yeah. And we get our more looks at. We've already seen some first looks of What If season 3, but now we're getting more. But we get a very interesting shot of this is Shang-Chi, Cowboy Shang-Chi.
Cowboy Shang-Chi, sure.
Yep. Up, we get our first look at the mech episode that's coming for What If season 3.
Yep, that looks pretty cool.
Then we get finally Marvel Zombies. More confirmation it still exists. We're gonna get Blade. I'm calling this as Blade.
I've seen someone else say it was Blade 2, and it's like they're trying to make fetch happen. And I know I saw reports today that Mahershala Ali's happy with where the script is, and now they're close to finding a director. And I'm like, tell me when you actually find a director and it's in production. That's what I want to know.
Yep. So I'm saying this is Blade 2. You get Yelena, a whole bunch of creatures going out there. So this is going to be fun. We've last heard it's just 4 episodes. I think same thing as Eyes of Wakanda, which we'll see in a little bit. So there's Yahya Abdul Mateen II playing Simon Williams, auditioning for Wonder Man. Now, here's the thing about this. From what I understand, he does not have powers. He is genuinely an actor playing this character, Wonder Man.
We'll see
That
what
is what
happens.
I. That is what I
Get
understand.
Get his ionic powers? I don't know.
Yep, I don't know. So I believe this is the last show of the Chapek era, if I'm not mistaken.
Potentially.
Yes.
I'd have to go back and look. At
Look who's back.
but
Officially, we got confirmation.
Trevor, absolutely.
Trevor is back.
Nice to see him again.
Yep.
Never. I mean, who would have thought when we were watching Iron Man 3 that we were going to see Trevor in a couple more projects?
I know. So we get our first look at Eyes of Wakanda, 4-episode series that we heard back a little bit a while ago that this was looking at the
Really
war
like
dogs,
the look of this.
war
Really
dogs
like
throughout the years. And then we got a confirmation of Deadpool Wolverine coming on. And then they drop a whole lot of dates.
Really, really fast too.
Yeah. And so we'll go over them as we just admire this footage.
Yeah. And then in 2025, we're going to drop 9 projects.
Yep.
9 projects from the studio that has said more than once they're slowing down. Do you happen to remember how many projects they released in 2021?
You do. I don't.
It was 9. Do you know how many they released in 2022?
How many?
It was 9. I'm like, come on. Like, don't get me wrong. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. But that's kind of how they like overloaded the GA with too much stuff. Now, yeah, sure. 2 of them are animated. And sorry, Heinz, people will just automatically disregard those. But even with 7 live action projects, I genuinely think it's too many.
Yep.
But it's going to be a fun
It's
year.
definitely not slowing down unless they're talking about the movies, but even then, we're kind of flirting with it there. So we had confirmation, and Mr. Travis Snell was correct in the sense of what his saying that What If Season 3 is now the final project coming for 2024. It may flirt into into 2025. But What If Season 3, the final season, is dropping December 22nd, and it has been confirmed that they will be going back to the daily releases. So, I love it and I hate it at the same time. You're killing me here, Marvel.
Yeah. So we'll probably do what we did last year, and we'll do the episodes we can, and we'll watch a few of them, and then
despite David trying to bait me at that point, saying I want daily episodes. Well, no, not happening.
Then he's going to have to come on because I can't commit to the daily episodes.
Correct, and I'm not sure if I want it because it's the holidays, and I need to stay. So that's how we're concluding 2024. But in 2025, January 25th, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man drops. February 14th, Captain America: Brave New World. March 4th, we already had this confirmed. Daredevil: Born Again premieres.
There it is. That's the one for me.
Yep. May 2nd, Thunderbolts premieres. Ironheart, June 24th, drops on Disney Plus. The Fantastic Four: First Steps, July 25th. Eyes of Wakanda, August 6th. Marvel Zombies, October of 2025. No official final date for that. And then Wonder Man, December 2025. The only time the MCU does not have a project, that would be April, September, and November.
Yeah, and I'm noticing that Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, assuming it's a weekly release like X-Men '97, we don't know. I'm just gonna assume that for now. It will overlap with Captain America: Brave New World.
More than likely. So because it's just dropping so late in January, it's almost having to do that.
Yeah,
so
unless they're gonna do a daily thing like What If is doing, which I don't like. It kind of worked with What If, but I don't see them doing that with other shows.
Yeah, I think because with What If it's an anthology, it kind of connects in tangentially. You know they're going to bring them together for your prediction that you're going to get your Civil War What If episode.
I'll take it.
Yeah, you are going to get it.
I want it.
So, but that works just because of anthology. Friendly Neighbor Spider-Man is episodic in the sense of everything is going to continue and build on each other. So yeah, it was a surprise that they dropped all this at that point. We do have in a week D23 in Brazil where we're hearing some more things are going to drop. So it'll be interesting to see what else will be revealed.
At that point, can I just say, can we please have the Daredevil trailers that were leaked from D23, that were leaked from San Diego? Can we just get that officially released?
We need a true trailer, and that's probably not going to come until maybe the end of this year, if not the beginning of next. Yeah. So, but all right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back to our normal scheduled Thursday, 9:10 Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for bearing with us the last couple of weeks, but we are back to regular programming. Until we get to what everyone's waiting for, the movie of the year, Kraven the Hunter. I know we all can't wait for that. Brent's counting down the days. So we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a good weekend.